I'll tell you what, folks, I don't think too much of life hacks, really, but there's one that's kind of useful for my particular needs, and that involves this cabinet right here. So there we go, big old steel cabinet. You know, it's a little beat up, you know, but it's all steel. But it does have one problem. It doesn't have a floor. So something needs to be done about that. It has a coat rack in it for some reason. I don't know, but it's a big steel cabinet. Now, here's the life hack part of it. You put a 25-watt light bulb down in the bottom, close it all up, and then the heat from that incandescent bulb will fill this cabinet and keep all of your things that you care about from freezing over the winter. So that's what we're going to do. So if we look over here in the cabinet of horrors, we've got a lot of different stuff. This stuff, you don't want it to freeze. There's a lot of other stuff in here that you don't want to freeze. You know, blaster, you don't care about that too much. But I just saw I got my Everclear in here. This stuff is actually really good for removing flux from electronics. So in Michigan, we only get the 151 proof. That's all we're allowed to have here because apparently the government doesn't trust us with anything stronger. So that's what we get. But yeah, that's why it's in there. I just noticed it. Anyway, so like adhesive, glues, other stuff. There's some wood glues over there. You know, things like that. Paints, other types of things. You definitely don't want them to freeze. So that's where this cabinet comes in. I want to use this cabinet to store all of my I don't want to freeze stuff for the winter. So I got to make a bottom for it. This is what I recommend for your light bulb. So 25 watt is all that you really need. I guess you could go up if you're in some crazy remote location that 25 watts isn't enough. This is a vandal resistant but weather tight construction. I've heard these called explosion proof light fixtures too. Not really sure if that is a legit claim or not. But in the event that you had a light bulb failure that resulted in a spark, this would enclose that spark and keep your entire cabinet from exploding, and that wouldn't be good. So anyways, that's what I'm going to do. I need to build a floor. So I don't have a way to bend metal. So we're going to try another little DIY thing and build a metal brake. So over here we have some steel. Behold the steel. Some scrap that I picked up. I think this is 1/4 inch. Puddin would know.
1/4 inch thick.
This will be your, I guess, lever, your brake part of it. That will fold up, so there'll be a hinge here. And on the other side, this will be whatever you get it broke against, like the base or back of it. I don't know what you even call these parts. Anyways, I'm going to make it so you can move it around a little tiny bit. Yeah, and so it'll go on a 45. You can overbend 90 on it, so that'll be kind of cool. I've never done any of this. I've never built a brake before, so whatever. We're going to figure it all out. This part has to be flat. My bench is warped. You know, typical stuff. So we're going to give it a shot. And then make that floor, so that we can then put a light in it and keep glue from freezing. Seems like a lot of work to keep glue from freezing, but it is what it is. Frickin' Enco bandsaw. I cannot keep this band on to save my life. Like, it won't even make a 1/4 of a revolution before it pops off of this wheel. I don't know. That was all tightened up. I've been adjusting it. I don't know what the deal is with it. So I had to use the old 1990s Craftsman to cut some round stock so that I can make the hinges for this metal brake. So I made some cuts, but they were really, really rough and uneven. Look at that. You know, that's what you get for using a Sawzall. So I've been slowly facing them down. They don't have to be perfect or even the right size. Like, they don't all have to be, you know, like the right size. So I've been using the mill, Just kind of facing them down the best that I can. And it's hard to see in there. I'll get a light. But yeah, just to make them flat. So these will be the hinge parts, and there'll be a hole through them, and that'll be it. I'm terrible at videoing everything. Like, I just start thinking about stuff and running through problems, and all of my hacks, like cutting those things wrong and all that stuff, because I was just using a grinder. It was like 11 o'clock at night. There was no light out here, really. I mean, it looks bright on the camera, but it is kind of dim in that area. Wow. It's crazy how much the camera really changes. It looks twice as bright with the camera than it really is in here. So anyway, I'm sorry about that, and I'll get to welding, and hopefully it'll look cool when it's all done. So I put up the tripod here to do it, and then my phone, which I'm using as a camera because my other camera's broke, it just took pictures because I forgot to move it to the video part. I bought a new tripod that had like an 80% positive 5-star review with like 8,000 reviews, and it was broken right out of the box. Like the screw, there's 4 screws on these corners stripped right out. So of course, you know, that thing is epoxied together, drying now or curing. I milled these pieces out of some solid 1-inch bar, and I cut it. And of course, I was a little rough with my measurements. Okay, so this is the back brace or whatever, I don't know what you'd call it, the mandrel or something, whatever, the spine of it. It's where the metal gets broke to. You can flip it to be a straight up 90 degree, or you can have it at a 45 to overbend. Steel doesn't always like to bend, you know, at a 90 and then stay there. They usually spring back a little bit, so you can have an overbend on it. There will be some flats cut in here, bolted down on each end, and that will allow you to, you know, tighten that up to whatever stock. Now, I've just got these, wow, that's hot. Just got these pins in it right now. So I just have these pins kind of stuck in it right now, just to kind of hold it together. These are 1/2-inch grade 8 bolts. These things are the way that they are, and then you can just bend this up. So this stuff is so thick, you know, this steel, it's so heavy that I'm not going to have any issues bending the light sheet metal that I'm building, that I'm going to be using. It's flat across, so that's important. You need that. Once I kind of get some of the rust scale down, it'll be good. It'll just get a couple of levers off of here, and I think I've got some crap steel that I can use for that. Right through here, I'm planning on just drilling a hole so it can bolt to a bench top. So I don't want to put this thing on a stand. I've got 0 room for anything. Look, it's just a nightmare mess in here. So my idea is that I'll be able to just store this thing straight up in a corner, you know, just stand it up over in there somewhere or whatever. And yeah, so right now it's coming out pretty good. I mean, it works. So that's good. The hinges are a little tight, but you know, it'll wear in a little bit, and it doesn't matter to me if it's not, you know, fluid motion. Perfect. It's good enough. So what I'll do is just fill these welds, then fill them from the back. They don't have to be ultra strong for this application, but that's where I'm kind of at right now. Alright, so what I did, see if you can see, ground a flat on that, drilled through, kind of angled it out a little bit side to side. Same on this side. You know. So now, put it on. Now this can move back and forth just a little bit. In there. And right there in that hole, put it down. This is the same. So I'm going to weld a nut on the back of it so you can be able to tighten this thing down into it, and then we'll be good. So I didn't really film all of the other stuff, you know, because it was just basically boring. But just some vice grips. It catches on the clamps right down there. But there we go. So that works just fine. My plan is then to make some little, I don't know, round, I don't think it's something like this, you know, just like a piece of round hollow stock. Put it on the corners here, and I've got some rebar buried over here in my junk pile. So just some little lengths of rebar. And I don't want to weld these right on, even though it'd probably be not a bad idea. But, you know, it's super long and it'll catch on everything. So if I make a little round, you know, little collar for it, I'll be able to put both of these things on, tighten it down with a screw, and then just take them off. So it decreases the overall profile of this and lets me store it easier. There we go. It'll tighten down. So I think we're good. Alright, so I just kind of put that thing down with some bolts. This is aluminum, but should work out for what we want to do. I mean, it ain't perfect, but a little bit of tweaking, I'd be fine. So, let's grab the, well, I'm using vice grips right now for a handle. There we go. Not too bad. I will, let me see, let's get a different piece. We'll try it on something else. 16 gauge, I don't know if you can see it or not, but this is pretty rigid. Put it on in there. Should be good. Let me put the vice grips on this side. I'll probably make like little spin down like nuts for this. Little handles on them. It'll just make it easier. Look at that. Huzzah! I overbent it, but you know, came out all right. The edge is nice and clean. Let's see if I can. Here you go. It's overbent, but the edge is clean. It's really nice. So there we go. Well, everybody, it's 3 days later. I was going to make a little outro with it all painted up, but it's been raining for 3 days and it's like 45, 48 degrees here. This is the paint that I used. It's like Rust-Oleum oil-based tractor paint. This oil-based Rust-Oleum takes days to dry. It takes forever. With the weather the way it is, this thing ain't gonna be dry for a while. So I'll show you how it looks now. So there we go. Just, Ford blue. That's what I got. And I think it'll look a lot nicer. So it's still tacky. Well, there we go. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you like the DIY metal brake. If you need one, make one. It's pretty easy to do. I got to get on this cabinet. Can't do it today because of the weather and the paint. I'm an idiot for painting it right now when I needed it, but whatever. And then on to the Dodge. This thing's got to get done pretty quick. So yeah, thanks for watching. Check me out over on Instagram, Half-Ass Garage over there. Appreciate you coming to hang out in the shop with me, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.